Welcome to the Sheepless Life podcast. We are your hosts, Ivonne Delaflor
and Séverine Naessens, and we are the founders of the Sheepless Life Academy. Join us at sheeplesslife.com for a free and exclusive masterclass on sheepless living.
We created this podcast for women like you, who are ready and eager to live and lead without the herd mentality.
Women who are ready to be, not who your parents told you to be,
not who the system expects you to be,
not who the media wants you to be,
but who you can truly become.
So relax, step out of the herd for a moment,
grab something to sip on, and have a pencil at hand just in case you feel the urge to take some notes.
Let's get the show on the road.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this week's podcast. This is Séverine Naessens speaking to you from Cancun, and today we have a very special transmission as we have our very first Sheepless Soul session with an amazing Sheepless Soul sister. Her name is Dr. Jeanne. Hi, Dr. Jeanne. How are you?
I'm great, thank you.
Alrighty, we have Dr. Jeanne with us from Chicago, from the Chicago area, and if that's not enough, we also have Ivonne Delaflor with us from Las Vegas. This is so much fun. We are connecting from 3 different spots on the continent. I'm so excited about this. And we are going to kick this off with a very short introduction. I want all of you to know who Dr. Jeanne is. And Dr. Jeanne is one of the first ladies that finished the Sheepless Life Academy together with me, Rebecca, who was on the Spanish broadcast a few moments ago, and several other women. And she has been guiding men and women for more than 30 years as a relationship and leadership coach, and she is on a mission to increase character-based leadership worldwide and to raise emotional intelligence in couple relationships, family units, and organizations. We have been blessed to collaborate with Dr. Jeanne for the last 2 years in December when she sets up a Day of Love and Light, which is a fun day with interviews with other ladies from all over the world. So it's been a true blessing to be able to co-create and co-exist and coincide with you, Dr. Jeanne. Welcome to this Sheepless Life podcast.
Well, thank you. And thank you also for being so supportive of that Day of Light and Love. And you both have just been very instrumental in that even happening, and it'll continue. But thank you for that.
It's such a pleasure and such an honor to be able to join you on that project. You cannot ever have enough love and light spreading out throughout any media that will take us, right?
That's right.
So, Ivonne, you with us?
I'm with you, and I am smiling. I am also live on Instagram on the Sheepless Life Academy Instagram, which is sheepless_life, which I still have like a conundrum, and I do meditation upon it. Why do we have an underscore? Well, I'm cool with that. I'm cool. This is sacred pause, maybe. And I'm also smiling because you introduced Dr. G. You are in Cancun, Séverine. Dr. Jeanne is in Chicago. I'm in Las Vegas, but we all are in planet Earth broadcasting a podcast, which is number what? 51, 50? What is this?
42, 41, 42.
Well, I'm a futurist. Look at my excuse. I'm a futurist. Okay. So look, we don't even know what's the number of podcasts, but it's multiplied. It's like 80 something, right? Because we have in Spanish and English. And unfortunately, I was not able to be live with the soul session of Rebecca Montero in the Spanish version, which is another Sheepless awesome graduate. But I'm able to be in this one. And I'm smiling because you introduced Dr. Jeanne, and you said the next. She's introducing emotional intelligence to couples. And I love that. I love that because it's truly true that emotional intelligence, even when it's a topic that many speak of, very few people introduce themselves into that practice. So I am super excited to be with you both ladies, with the people that are live on Instagram right now. It's in English, the version right now that we're broadcasting. And Dr. Jeanne, I'm super, I love you, and that one of the reasons I want to tell this to the podcast listeners, and this is going to YouTube too, but one of the reasons the Academy was created was because of these two ladies here in the podcast today. Actually, there's three ladies that I want to pay tribute, but one of them will will interview her eventually. But it's Dr. Jeanne, Séverine, and Barbara Montano that we will bring her soon. But the reason why this is something behind the scenes, so I'm going to pay tribute to you. Séverine was like we talk about dragons on the Sheepless Life Academy. The dragon of fear that one needs to defeat, and there's a whole process. I mean, you cannot just do it by thinking about it. You got to go through this together. There's very specific exercises through an evolved futuring hero's journey that we do this. And then, and it was very challenging, especially the Sheepless Life 3.0, which is the last leg of the Academy. But both Séverine and Dr. Jeanne were like, oh my gosh. Dr. Jeanne was one of the persons that said the more intense it was getting, the more she was loving it. And I was like, okay, all right, Dr. Jeanne is in the house, emotional intelligence right there. And Séverine was like, let's take it to the next level all the time. So that's what I said, would you like to co-found with me an academy? And she said, yes. And the reason people like Dr. Jeanne that never fainted, actually got more empowered. The more challenging it got, for me, it got the more empowering, and it showed me the future of women. It showed me the resilience of this feminine spirit. It showed me that when you have emotional intelligence, as Dr. Jeanne has, you have no space for complaint. You have no space for carrying yourself as a victim. You actually carry yourself as the dragon of nobility, of knowledge, of the queendom thing. And just emotional intelligence, it's a crown by itself. So this is a tribute that I'm paying to both you, Séverine, and Dr. Jeanne. People like you are the ones that, I always test everything that I'm going to introduce in the world, a new workshop, a new training. So I test it not because if it works for me. I want to make sure it serves people, and people like you take it to a different level and next level. And it challenges me to be a better human being too. So thanks to you, the Sheepless Life Academy ladies exist. So
wow.
Yes.
Thank you so much for that tribute, and it was such a blast. I remember going through those through the first couple of weeks of the Sheepless Life the system, and we did not have a clue really what was going to happen and what you were going to release upon us. But we had such a great time, and Dr. Jeanne, now getting a bit into the topic of your experience of the Sheepless Life Academy, could you please share with us where you were at before you started the academy, and what drew you to starting the classes on Sheepless Life, especially Sheepless Life 1? What got you started?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I'm actually living in that moment of the whole resilience, and we didn't know what it was building to. And I mean, I have this whole crescendo inside my chest as you're talking about it, because it was just the most magnificent experience, perhaps, of my life on that level. Wow. up to this time. And it did require just the pushing through, but the speed of trust. Here's the thing about Ivonne, that I really would not have been there, Ivonne, without you. And I had not met you, quote, met, because I don't know to this day that we've actually hugged each other in person.
Not yet. Chicago soon.
I might be coming to Las Vegas sooner. So, yes. But no, I think it's just like when you, we have this opportunity today online to really connect with people, and it's through social media, because the social media is kind of where people show up today. And I know that there's a lot of posing, there's a lot of branding and posing and that. But I do think that if you have this raw authenticity to your own soul, you recognize it in another. And it was through someone that I followed. I saw you put a post, and it was almost, I mean, the person that I was following was for a business reason, and your post was so refreshing inside of that. I don't know. I was like, who is she? And I clicked on you, and I started to follow you. And I think I came through a couple other things that you offered. Maybe it was, I know we're not here to discuss that, but I'm just telling you, it was a journey of trusting the next step. But there was this innate speed of trust, I guess is what I'm saying, that I felt from you. And you've never violated it. You've only encouraged it really to grow even more and more and more. And so that's what got me to the Sheepless Life. And one of my very good friends, I had gotten her in one of your, it might have been Faith in Action. I'm not sure what we did right before that, which is an amazing, oh my goodness.
That was Faith in Action, yeah.
That was just so good. And so it led me, and I brought a friend of mine into the Sheepless Life with me, and we actually did it together, even though we weren't accountability partners. But accountability is part of, I think, what brought the, the results, part of, because the accountability. So what brought me to the Sheepless Life? I just knew that there were things that you knew that I needed to know, and that I was led to you for that reason. And I just trusted my inner voice, which I learned about in the Sheepless Life. Didn't even know about that before that.
Wow.
But I trusted that, right? And in the trusting of that, and I'm not weak of spirit, so I didn't back off when it got tough. I was like, I've been through enough stuff in my life that I know when you push through, right? When you push through, I think I believe that when you fly a plane, a lot of planes crash because small craft, because when they go into a dive or a spin, the instinct of a human is to pull back. And the correct response to pull out of that is to push in, down and in, so that the jet or the plane resumes flight. And I thought of that a few times. I will tell you, during those segments of the Sheepless Life, all the way through to the end, because I knew that if I pushed through, I would soar to a level that I wouldn't be able to unless I was willing to push through. And so that's my story. It was the most remarkable experience of my life, quite honestly. I mean, I have a lot of amazing experiences, but in its own category, I keep advancing levels from there. But it took me to something that I know I'd be sitting here today in a different place had I not, committed to, when you said the EQ and no space for complaint. Here's the thing about EQ. EQ isn't, well, first of all, you have to take 100% responsibility. That's just a start point, right? It's just a start point. But I don't believe in 100% responsibility. I mean, I walk people when I work with them just to get them to see 100% responsibility as a positive thing, right? And then move them to 150% and then 200%, but wow. I believe in 1,000,000% responsibility. And
that's why Dr. Jeanne is in the Sheepless Life at Mega Grad. Okay, keep going. I like this.
Well, that's just it. That's what I believe in.
1,000,000%.
1,000,000% responsibility.
We got to edit the academy.
Well, because
we gotta bump it up again. Wow.
Because here's the thing about 100%. 100% responsibility means you're willing to accept 100% of everything that you're aware of that you're responsible for. But what about what you aren't aware of that you're responsible for?
Oof. Oof.
So
oof. Okay, all right. Oof, hashtag oof, hashtag. Now I'm rethinking the whole academy in this moment. Boom.
Wow.
Wow.
Well,
I'm taking notes.
Well, it just, And that's all that it is. Emotional intelligence, the EQ, is just a reflection of a person's willingness to take responsibility. And of course, there's all kinds of ways that we have to increase that responsibility quotient. But resilience, you mentioned, and the will. What is that about the will? That muscle right there. Life will toss you things, throw you things, shoot at you with things. And the thing is can you get back up? Can you get back up? And then over time, as you take on these, quote, hits or, tsunamis, or sometimes it's just surf, but it feels like a tsunami. You thought it was a tsunami, then a tsunami comes later and you go, oh, that was just the surf, right? But every time what it does is there's something inside of you that it strengthens. And I think that when I was in the Sheepless Life, I just, whenever a segment would end, because I got to do it live, which I love doing things live with you. I mean, honestly, it's the best. But every segment I would feel, and I'd know there was another one, right? I'd know there was another one coming. And I was like, I had anticipation, and then I would have to go a week or two and like, when is that starting? Oh, we got another month. It was like, we sometimes joke about, the mothership, and I had that feeling though. I mean, honestly, it was like we were kind of set out and we're running off our own battery or off our own energy, but to hook back up with the mothership and get another infusion of and kind of like the spaceship gets, and I'm just using that as a metaphor, the spaceship gets not a remodel, but it sort of is. It's upgraded every time it leaves the mothership. And honestly, I've known for a really long time the power of association. Yes. I've known that for a super long time. I've had a mentor since '92. I've never been a year without a mentor, and I know this. But I also have to say that the collaboration of other people called in the same moment to the same great thing that they're going to share, it's exponential in its impact. And that's kind of what happened for me.
Wow, Dr. Jeanne. Well, very, very, very quickly, Sebe, before we ask her the questions. Well, first, what an honor to hear your experience on the Sheepless Life. You just, there's people in Instagram putting hashtags oof when you said, I don't believe in the 100%. That just true, is one of my great lines. It was one of the lines that I used to say, 100% of the time. Now we're going to multiply it by 100. Now let's get it to 1 billion. I love what you just shared. Just really expanded my mind. And one of the things you shared is that you look for that anticipation. I'm very grateful that you said that the speed of trust was never broken for you. And the reason, is because in the body of the work that I keep being called to serve, that's a very essential aspect. And in the trust, what happens is that I have an habit of setting boundaries. I get people out and I get people in. I say an honest yes and an honest no. And these builds a field of safety and trust, not only for myself, but for everyone else that is actually going to really do the work. That's number one. Number two, you said you had an anticipation from one class, like when is the other one starting? Mm-hmm. I want to share with you a secret, with you, Sebe, that everything that I've taught, everything that I teach, that I see myself as a recipient of, whenever I learn from an experience of life, I see myself as a recipient of a responsibility that life is giving me. Like a bowl of tea. Right now, I'm like drinking a bowl of tea. I just had my tea teacher with me, guiding me through the most incredible mindfulness practice. But like a bowl of tea, when you share it, when you pass it on, it creates a journey, not only for the teacher and the one that is the recipient of the teachings, but for everyone else that will come into the future. So actually, all of the teachings that we share literal are micro journeys, like heroic journeys that take you into the next level of self-discovery. So I am super honored and humbled that you are able to see this and articulate it in a way that I'm like, wait, what? You gave words to an experience that for me comes. I'm being guided. I feel a moral responsibility to share, and I feel a deeper, higher realm authority directing me to do so, to serve this cup of tea, disguised as an academy, disguised as a model, disguised as a dragon. And one more thing before we go to the questions, Seve, that I want to address with you, Dr. Jeanne. I want to tell you that thanks to you, we have our creed, right, Seve?
Yes.
We don't hate men. We are women, and at the end, I didn't say the whole thing, but at the end it says we conquer dragons. Before it was we kill dragons. But Dr. Jeanne, during the class, sends me a message. Dr. Jeanne too. Jeanne was another of our grads that went full in so deeply, so powerful in the academy. Jeanne, Barbara, Séverine, Dr. Jeanne. But Dr. Jeanne contacted me and she's like, well, and she said it actually in the class. Why are we killing a dragon? I love dragons. I was like, okay. All right, I'm open. I'm open not to kill, obviously, because primum non nocere is something that I teach in transcendental rebirthing. First, do no harm. It's a very strong code of honor that I have with myself. So I said, well, that was a strong word to use, very masculine way to use. So now we're going to conquer. We're going to conquer the dragon of our fear, the dragon of our ignorance, the dragon of not wanting to take responsibility, the dragon of blaming others for our shortcomings, and we'll conquer the dragon that we are, the fire in our spirit, the elements in us. And actually, we're going to love dragons. Plus, I'm mostly vegan most of the times, and I do not like to kill. So, Dr. Jeanne, thanks to you, actually, the whole code of honor that we are women, we don't hate men. We're not feminists, but we are feminine. We conquer dragons. It came from you. So
well,
that's it. So
a little bit on the dragon thing. Actually, I've owned a tattoo studio for over 40 years, and I'm principally, a tattoo artist in my career. And one thing that I've specialized in for years is like American Japanese, like larger tattoo concepts. And so in studying the Japanese symbology and mythology, you see the koi, the looks like a goldfish. The koi is represented almost all the time in Japanese art. And so in researching it, I remember reading from a book, I can almost like remember verbatim, and it says, it was the koi that crests the waves at the celestial gate and captures the pearl is transformed into the dragon.
Wow.
Okay, we're going to pause this. Can you repeat this? Because I just finished before in a phone call, I had early this morning, a class with my teacher of tea. And this teacher of tea was talking to me about 4,000 years ago. And that the koi is very important for me, Dr. Jeanne, very, very has appeared in all of my spiritual experiences. And I believe that what you just shared is not only something that goes in the podcast that gets recorded, it's a transmission. I was talking about things like this right now. So would you kindly repeat it? And anybody listening to this in this podcast right now or live on Instagram or on YouTube, please take these words as a micro moment of meditation. Would you repeat them, love, please?
I believe it was stated as the koi that crests the waves at the celestial gate and captures the pearl is transformed into the dragon. And so when I went through that third session, the Sheepless Life, there's a lot of things in there that, need to be met in its own time for each individual. But there was that moment where all of that just kind of came together for me. And I knew that, the pearl, of course, is the pearl of wisdom, right? And so what happened was you gave me and the other sisters, Sheepless sisters now, you gave us this, I don't know if it was an arena or a stage, or you gave us a space, this container to literally experience that, but go through that as the koi. Like, that's how I felt. Like, I was the koi cresting the wave and capturing the pearl, and I was transformed into this dragon. So for me, the dragon didn't have to be slain. It was transformed in that process.
Conquered.
Everything has a right to exist. And we oftentimes fear the thing we don't understand. We all know that. But we don't always realize how deeply embedded some of that stuff is. And so your Sheepless, the process allowed me to be suspended out of time, away from whatever the fear, whatever it was that was holding something back. And you allowed it, you facilitated it, really being released. No one can do it for anyone, but you facilitated it being released in me, and I'm forever changed because of that process. And I thank you. I've spoken of this quite a few times to others.
Wow. So, wow. You know, this is when flow is important, because if we stick, and we're the Sheepless Life, you know, if we stick to a format, an analysis, a rule, we miss the pearl of wisdom that you, Dr. Jeanne, just shared. If we will get stuck into, we need to do this, you know, we have 5 questions. We need to do this at this time, by then, we miss life. We miss the experience of the moment that can transform the lotus from the mud into this blooming flower. We miss the experience of the alchemy of the koi. That is it's such a metaphor for me, from the koi into the gateways of heaven, which are the gateways of the mind. Once you go and explore and master yourself, that is what the Sheepless Life Academy is, you literally receive the pearl of wisdom, where what you thought you knew wasn't, and the mistakes turn into lessons, the lessons turn into application, the application turns into this pearl, and then, you know, you transmute yourself into a metaphor of a power, the powerful being that you already were. My job is to sustain, hold space. Obviously, as I hold space, I'm in charge of the leadership of it, not because I want to lead others and have followers. I never lead followers, but because the safety, the container, when one loses its certainty, its clarity, its commitment to protect the safety, the privacy, and the flow of the space, you lose a whole of humanity. You lose the ability for people to self-regulate, for them to take the journey of becoming the masters of themselves, to rise as the dragon that has defeated fear and now rises into its own potential. And so that's so beautiful.
And that dragon energy is now transmuted. It's just become part of it. And I do want to say this: you do lead, and I do follow, and that's part of leadership.
Right.
But I'm not a very good groupie. I've never been a good groupie. I think maybe what you mean is you're not looking for groupies. But
you know what happens, Dr. Jeanne? Each time I attract groupies block me from Facebook, and they, thank God, they allow space for the new leaders to come in.
Absolutely. Yeah, they're vibrationally, some groupie is too needy. So I don't need to find my identity through someone else, but I love that my identity is augmented through the experience that we share. And it's been an amazing experience, truly.
Wow. So now we're going to go to the 5 questions. To the 5 elements.
There's no need to go back to those 5 questions, because with everything that you shared, Dr. Jeanne, you have completely covered what your experience was. One of the questions was, what was your experience as going through the academy, and there's no more beautiful way than the way you stated it, that it was like the koi, going to the gates of heaven, taking that pearl of wisdom and conquering that dragon we all have inside. Because I think
Transforming.
that
She
everybody
said
who
the
has
word. Yeah, she said the word transforming. I think that what she said is very important, that we're mindful to protect the sanctuary of what she just shared, because she didn't just share an experience. She took us in the journey that she went through, and she used the word transform.
Yes.
More than conquering. Actually, the koi. Just picture this, Séverine. Everyone here live on the podcast. Picture yourself as a koi, transforming yourself into a dragon. Yeah, it's like just right there. There's a coin, there's a mysticism, there's the Zen moment. This is where the patterns are all broken, and where you can enter into a space of like, okay, I thought myself as a fish, now I'm a dragon, and now what's possible? Everything.
Yeah, and
So, yeah.
And the dragon, I would like to say that the dragon has always been there and is always there. And part of the quote conquering, I think it's more conquering self that allows you to trust the dragon to come forward, and that dragon is, we think of dragons as these very fierce and destructive beings, and it's not that we can't be that, but to transmute that energy into something that is a creative. That's what I got. That is what I got from
Actually, yes, we have a post that is in the Sheepless Life Graduates only. I'm sure, Sebe, we can extract that post and share it with our audience and on Instagram and everything, without removing the part that is exclusive for the graduates, where we say there's a history in China about the two dragons that must be met. And one is the dragon of your darkness, of your fear, and how your own power can burn. It's kind of the Shiva principle in the Hinduism, in the Sanskrit tradition, right? That is the destroyer and creator of worlds. And we are that for ourselves. We destroy ourselves, so we build from our own destruction. The parable of the phoenix kind of thing. From our own destruction, we can even choose our own ashes to rebirth ourselves and even stronger, or we can use that destruction to keep destroying ourselves, our families, our communities, our relationships with others. That's why I'm so adamant and so strong, especially when it comes to the academy or anything that I have the privilege and the duty to teach, to hold very strong the honest yes and the honest no. And it can be my mother that descends from heaven, that she's dead, right? Or for the mystical and the spiritual people, no, she's not dead. She just left her form. She's dead, right? She's dead in this 3D. She's gone. She comes down here and she starts telling me things. And the sanctuary of this space that we're holding right now, all of us together, begins to be threatened. I'm going to say, Mom, I love you. You had your turn. Go back. This is an honest no for me right now. We're going to protect the wisdom of this. So this is really, really powerful. I think this, what you just transmitted, Dr. Jeanne, is super powerful. Sebe, I do want you to, are all the questions covered? Because I would love Dr. Jeanne then to share where she can be reached. But yes. make sure, because maybe one of your questions will open another gate. I don't know. You never know. It's very mystical.
But where it was going to is that the way, the analogy of the koi transforming into a dragon completely brings forward the elegance and the grace that comes through the academy. And I think that for all of us who have gone through that process, we can totally relate to being a koi, swimming up to that pearl of wisdom, sometimes counter current, sometimes having a tsunami hit us, as you said, Dr. Jeanne, and I think you beautifully described it as waves. I think we've been riding these waves of life, these waves of wisdom coming over us, and knowing how to ride those waves has brought us to those pearls of wisdom, transforming us into those dragons and being able to conquer that inner dragon we all carry. As you said, the dragon has always been there, and it does not have to be a fierce, ugly, demonish dragon. It's a beautiful, elegant, and graceful dragon.
But let me tell you, sis, this is now you guys are touching part of my mission here, right? So we touch the dragon and we turn it into elegance. It's not that we are to fear the dragon within. Is that ignorance is the dragon that we haven't know. We have not yet know how to meet eye to eye. We have not yet know how to encounter it with compassion and with the tools that will reflect back to us the connection we always have with God that never leaves us, no matter if we believe in it, in that energy or not. Number two, the ability we have as human beings to grow in wisdom, in grace, in elegance. And number three, the more the veils of ignorance are lifted from the dragon of ignorance within, we have a choice. We can stay being the koi, which I love koi. I mean, we can stay being where we're at, or we can go to the next level, and it's okay wherever we choose. But we will keep flowing in this ocean of transformation in the Sheepless Life Academy to end sheep walking for women on earth. Dragon transformed elegantly, wearing your own thoughts, your own uniqueness, your own individuation as consciousness. So, wow. Any other questions, Seve, that you have there that may need to be touched?
Yes, well, the last thing before we close, what I would like to ask you, Dr. Jeanne, is how has the Sheepless Life Academy had an effect on your personal mission? How is that affecting you, and how are you able to contribute as a sheepless woman?
I've been pretty sheepless for like my whole life. So I didn't really know that's what it was, because it was always, you're so rebellious, you're such a rebel. I just knew there are people that walk around and they just know that they don't belong in the box that they were born into, and I was one of those people. However, the chatter, the inputs, and people could look at me and say, oh my goodness, your life has been so brave, like you said. Well, but then compared to someone else, maybe not brave at all. The measurement is always against yourself. And I made a decision. I knew a few years ago that I needed to come onto social media and have a presence if I was going to accomplish my global mission. And it was not easy for me because I am way more production oriented. I love the production side. I know how I want it to be. And I just don't want to be the actor. I don't want to be the person interview. I want to do the interviewing, right? So how did it shift and change for me was I knew that, and I was very shy and allergic to the spotlight. And a lot of people would watch my live stream today and say, no way. And I say, oh, absolutely. So since completing the Sheepless Academy, I have a regular presence online. I also have always presented in live workshops, but instead of having limited time at the front of the room, I'm doing a lot more of the guiding and the teaching. So I would say that's probably the biggest shift, I would say. Is that what the question was?
Yes.
Yes, very good.
Yeah, that would be the biggest thing, is that I recognize that I just have to keep pushing through, and trusting what I learned in the Sheepless Life Academy about the honest yes and honest no. And somebody like me, I'm very big-hearted, and so it was always very difficult for me to say no. Well, sometimes it wasn't, sometimes it just wasn't, but you have to get me pretty close to the edge to get that. I'm always trying to, I'm always trying to, I don't know, just love and connect and all that. But no, I've cleaned house in that way, and I'm so much more productive, and I'm so much more on purpose. And I love my mentors and I love my coaches, but sometimes I have a very different take on what I should do compared to the sheep. You know?
The herd.
Because there's even though social media is kind of newer, that there's still sheep things happening there. I just have this natural thing inside of me that if it doesn't resonate, I just can't go there. And so I now know that's my honest no. And I know now when I get my honest yes. And I'm not afraid to wait to receive it. I don't feel like I just have to be frenetically doing things. And so I feel like as I do things now, they're so much more intentional and purposeful that there's a bigger ripple as a result, if that makes sense. I have a lot more certainty, if that makes sense. I have a lot more certainty, and so I'm scaling up because I have like many projects that I'm working on, and some of them will take a few years, and some will just take this year, and it's big. I'm like I love thinking as big as possible, and I think for a while I kind of dumbed myself down a bit, and I know I was meant to meet Ivonne the way that I did meet in quotes, air quotes, online, and walked through and trusted. I just recognized it just resonated, and I trusted the next step. And I'm a bit of a completer. Like winners never quit and quitters never win. Mm-hmm. And I've operated from that mentality for 30 years. Because I used to quit everything. I used to quit everything. I used to be terrible at relationships, and I used to quit everything. If the going got tough, I'd find something else. I'm very creative, so I could come up with something else. And motherhood probably was the first of that transformation, because the love
you cannot quit, though. that's even when you try to quit motherhood.
You cannot. No.
There's no way to quit.
And I have adult children that my oldest genetic son is going to be 40 this year. I can't believe that, but he is. And, it's just interesting because even as time goes on, you evolve as a parent. It changes like constantly. There's a constant challenge, and in a good way. I mean, in a really good way, because I become a better person. And I mean, that journey of parenting, that is something that you don't quit. It doesn't quit you, And but I really do think that just staying the course, having a bigger vision, being challenged. I'm constantly challenged with the thinking. I have a lot of different philosophies that I've studied, and a whole lot I've never even studied. And I get a lot of that overlap. You have a very homogenized community, and I love that. Oh my gosh, I'm somebody who's always loved diversity. I love it. I love to sit with anyone and just have them. I just love them to tell me what they know, and I love to know how they think, and and prima non. I'm not going to even say it the right way, but everything has a right to exist. And this thinking that we all have to fit a certain way, and then if you don't, there's something wrong with you. To me, that's incredibly flawed thinking in our culture. So embrace diversity, be bold. Be bold and trust, and everybody's next level is your next level. And I have no idea how far I am on my journey. I just know I am a whole heck of a lot farther than I was before I graduated the Sheepless Life.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jeanne, for sharing all this wisdom with us. I've been writing down a whole bunch of stuff. Every time we have a conversation, there's so much wisdom in there, so many sharings between you and Ivonne. We could go on for hours. Unfortunately, our time's up for this podcast. But before we do leave, I want to let you all know that you can follow Dr. Jeanne on Facebook as Dr. Jeanne, as Jeanne Fritch. You can also follow her on Instagram. It's at Jeanne_Fritch. Hey, Ivonne, she's got an underscore too.
You have an underscore.
Yes.
That underscore maybe.
I practice the pause. The bridge of heaven. I like that.
and also on Twitter, Jeanne Fritch. So please go ahead and follow Dr. Jeanne, because I'm very happy you stepped out of your comfort zone and you go live on Facebook, because your transmissions are very powerful and there's so many golden nuggets in there. So if you're listening to this podcast, tune into Dr. Jeanne's live streams on Facebook as well, and also follow her on Instagram. She's got great things to share with us. She's totally sheepless, and we're very, very proud and very honored to have you on board. Ladies, I'm very sorry we have to cut this off. We will have to ask you